Introduction, the course we never took. There is no subject more essential to human life than love, and yet it remains the one subject we are never taught. We learn mathematics, literature, and technology. We study how to build, manage, and consume, but not how to connect. We move through life expecting love to appear by accident, to endure by instinct, and to heal by magic. And when it does not, we suffer, not because love has failed us, but because we have never learned its laws. Love is not a moment of passion. It is not merely the warmth between two bodies or the thrill of recognition in another's eyes. Love is a discipline, a conscious art, a field of study that demands as much attention as any science. To love means to understand, to observe, and participate in the complex dialogue between two human natures. In the modern world, our relationships have grown more fragile than ever before. The reason is not a lack of feeling, but the unchecked growth of ego, that inner voice that demands constant pleasure, constant affirmation, and constant novelty. The ego has become the invisible architect of our desires, reshaping the family, redefining commitment, and often confusing freedom with isolation. To build real love today, we must first understand ourselves. We must see how our desires evolve, how our fears disguise themselves as logic, and how our yearning for closeness collides with our instinct for self-protection. Love begins the moment two people agree to rise above this inner struggle together. Not to suppress their nature, but to master it. This audiobook is a guide for that journey. It is not a book of advice or sentiment, but a structured course, a study in the architecture of the heart. Each chapter explores a dimension of conscious relationship, from the history of human connection to the balance of intellect and emotion, from the mapping of personal boundaries to the creation of a shared inner world. You will learn that between every two people there exist three territories: the private territory, which belongs only to the self; the common territory, where daily life and dialogue take place; and the territory of love, the sacred field where two souls intertwine, not to lose themselves, but to find a higher unity. Love, in its mature form, is not an accident of chemistry. It is a deliberate cultivation of understanding, trust, and mutual growth. It is a living organism, sustained by attention, nourished by concession, and guided by reason. In its highest state, it becomes a covenant, a promise of shared existence that no circumstance can undo. Territory of love is an invitation to enter this understanding. It is a call to treat love not as a fleeting emotion, but as the most profound human craft. To study love is to study life itself. For every heartbeat, every thought, and every choice finds its truest meaning only in relation to another. Welcome to the course we never took, and perhaps the most important one we ever will. Chapter 1. Why we need a course on love. We live in an age of extraordinary intelligence. Humanity has conquered nature, built empires of technology, and stretched its reach to the stars. Yet, in the most intimate sphere of life, the meeting of one heart with another, we remain uneducated. We are taught to read, to calculate, to build, and to compete, but never to love. We rely on instinct, imitation, and chance, as though love were a miracle that either blesses us or fades away. In earlier ages, love was not expected to carry such weight. Relationships were built from necessity, family, and survival. People married to sustain life, not to fulfill the soul. But today, we seek in one person what previous generations found in entire communities: companionship, understanding, passion, and meaning. Our expectations are vast, yet our tools are primitive. The modern heart has been granted freedom, but not wisdom. We are free to choose whom to love, yet we do not know how to sustain that love once found. We dream of absolute closeness, while guarding our independence as sacred. We long for unity, yet fear losing ourselves within it. This is a paradox of our time: freedom without depth, passion without permanence. The reason for this struggle lies in the evolution of the ego. The ego is the engine of human progress, the inner force that drives us to seek pleasure, power, and fulfillment. It has built civilizations, but it has also turned our relationships into battlegrounds of expectation. Each person unconsciously demands to be adored, understood, and completed, while rarely learning how to give the same. When two egos meet, each wants to receive, and few remember how to give. In the past, smaller egos made for simpler lives. Today, Our desires are infinite, and love alone cannot carry the burden of our self-centered hunger. The result is disillusionment, the collapse of romance under the weight of ego. We call it incompatibility, but in truth, it is ignorance, a lack of education in the laws that govern the human heart. That is why we need a course on love, a place to study what love truly is, not as fantasy, but as a living system. Such a course would teach that love is not born perfect. It is cultivated through awareness and mutual effort. It would show that love is not a feeling we possess, but a relationship we build, a skill that grows as we learn to rise above ourselves. In this school, we would learn that love has two languages, intellect and emotion. The intellect observes and guides. The heart feels and connects. Together, they create balance. Without intellect, emotion becomes chaos. Without emotion, intellect becomes cold. Mature love unites them both, allowing passion to serve understanding and understanding protect passion. We would also learn that the essence of love lies in responsibility. To love someone is to care for their inner world as you care for your own, to feel joy in their joy and peace in their peace. It is not the loss of self, but the expansion of self to include another. A true course on love would reveal that conflict is not a sign of failure, but of growth. Every disagreement exposes the boundaries of the ego, offering a chance to transcend them. Each difficulty invites two people to rise above instinct and act from understanding. If humanity could learn this, if we could study love with the same dedication we give to science or art, the world itself would change. Families would become schools of empathy. Relationships would become laboratories of consciousness. We would no longer pass on the same wounds and fears to our children, but a living example of unity. Love must cease to be a coincidence. It must become a craft, a discipline of the soul. For only through learning can we transform desire into devotion and attraction into understanding. We do not need to invent love anew. We only need to learn what it truly is. And that learning begins the moment we accept that love, like life itself, requires education. This is the beginning of that course, the study of the heart, the practice of awareness, and the art of being human together. Chapter 2, Understanding Human Nature and the Ego. To build love, we must first understand what shapes it, human nature itself. At the center of that nature lies the ego, the force that drives every desire, every ambition, and every form of love. The ego is not evil. It is the core of our individuality. Yet, when misunderstood, it becomes a source of nearly all relational pain. In early human history, love was simple. People lived in tribes where relationships served survival. A family was a practical bond. Affection was secondary. The ego was still small, content with safety, belonging, and routine. As societies grew, individuality awakened. Partnerships became more personal. In the modern era, the ego reached maturity. We began to seek not survival, but self-fulfillment. Today, the ego demands more than ever before. It wants constant emotion, recognition, and excitement. It refuses limitation and treats relationships as mirrors for its own pleasure. This hunger has created the illusion that love must provide endless satisfaction, that a partner exists to complete us. When this fantasy fails, we conclude that love has died. But love does not die. Illusion collapses. This is the misunderstanding of modern romance. We dream of spiritual unity while remaining imprisoned in self-centered individuality. We say we want connection, yet we fear losing control. We demand that someone meet all our needs, while rarely learning how to meet theirs. Two egos cannot merge. They can only collide. The instinct to control the ego is futile. One cannot silence what is natural. The task is not to suppress the ego, but to rise above it, to recognize its movements, to observe without submission. The moment we can see our impulses clearly, we begin to master them. Then, instead of demanding love, we begin create it. Rising above the ego means shifting focus from receiving to giving. It means asking, what does my partner need from me now? Instead of why am I not being fulfilled? This change of perspective transforms ordinary relationships into conscious cooperation. Love ceases to be a trait of emotions and becomes a shared practice of awareness. True self-awareness is a foundation of every real relationship. Without it, We act as children in adult form, demanding, blaming, and expecting miracles. With it, we start to see that our frustrations reveal more about ourselves than about the other. Every moment of jealousy or disappointment is an invitation to understand our nature more deeply. When both partners learn to observe themselves this way, something remarkable occurs. The relationship stops being a struggle for dominance and becomes a field of discovery. Each partner becomes both mirror and guide. The ego, instead of separating them, becomes a very tool that teaches compassion and patience. The energy of the ego can be transformed. Its hunger becomes curiosity. Its pride becomes respect. The same force that once divided us can drive us toward understanding, if we know how to direct it. Love is not the destruction of ego, but the harmonization of it. Two unique selves learning to coexist without erasing one another. To love consciously is to realize that every human being is a world unto themselves. My partner's desires, fears, and rhythms are as real and complex as my own. Seeing this, I no longer expect perfection. I begin to cooperate with what is human, not with what is imagined. Love begins with self-knowledge. It is impossible to understand another while blind to oneself. The deeper I understand my own motives, the less I project them onto the one I love. The moment I recognize that the struggle is not between us, but within me, I step into maturity. The ego will always exist, but it need not rule. When awareness leads and ego follows, love becomes a conscious choice rather than a reaction. Then, two people can meet not as competitors of affection, but as allies in growth. To rise above the ego is to enter a higher dimension of relationship, one built on understanding rather than need, on giving rather than taking. In that space, love becomes what was always meant to be, the meeting place of two awakened souls, learning to build happiness together. Chapter 3. Two Languages of Love, Mind and Heart. Every human being speaks two silent languages, the language of the mind and the language of the heart. One reasons, the other feels. One analyzes, the other yearns. Together they form the full expression of who we are. Yet in love, these two languages often collide. Intellect accusing emotion of blindness, emotion accusing intellect of coldness. When the mind dominates, love becomes logical but lifeless. When the heart rules alone, love burns brightly but briefly. Real connection is born only when these two voices learn to listen to each other, when reason gives direction to feeling, and feeling gives warmth to reason. In the early stages of romance, the heart leads. Passion and curiosity draw us together, erasing difference and logic alike. But as the first fire softens, the mind awakens. It begins to ask questions. Who is this person? What do we share beyond attraction? What do I give and what do I take? If the mind and heart are estranged, this awakening becomes conflict. Yet when they are partners, love deepens into understanding. To communicate from thought to thought means to share clarity, to speak honestly, to listen without defense, to explain rather than accuse. To communicate from heart to heart means to express care beyond words, through tone, gesture, presence, and empathy. Both languages are necessary. The mind builds a bridge, the heart walks across it. Maturity in love does not depend on years or experience. It depends on perspective, the ability to see both yourself and your partner from above the storm of emotion. A mature person does not silence their feelings. They guide them. They understand that emotions are powerful but not infallible, like waves that need a steady shore. Without the stability of reason, passion becomes chaos. Without the warmth of emotion, intellect becomes isolation. The art of balance lies in knowing when to listen to each. The heart must speak freely, but the mind must interpret wisely. When anger rises, the heart wants to strike. The mind reminds it to pause. When fear whispers, "I am not loved enough," the mind answers, "Perhaps I have stopped seeing how I am loved." When the mind overanalyzes, the heart softens it with kindness. In this harmony, communication becomes more than words. Two people begin to sense each other's thoughts before they are spoken, to feel each other's emotions before they are confessed. The intellect creates understanding and the heart creates connection. Together, they form intimacy that neither alone can achieve. To practice this balance, one must learn to listen in two ways. First, With reason, hearing not only the words but the meaning behind them. Second, with empathy, sensing the feeling that give those words life. Listening with both mind and heart transforms disagreement into dialogue. You stop defending yourself and start understanding the other. Many relationships fail not because love disappears, but because one of the two languages goes silent. When emotion speaks without reflection, relationships drown in drama. When intellect speaks without empathy, they die of coldness. True maturity is the ability to hold both, to feel deeply, yet act wisely. In conscious love, thought and emotion are not enemies but instruments of the same music. The mind ensures that love remains steady. The heart ensures it remains alive. One without the other creates imbalance. Together, they create harmony. The secret is not to silence emotion or idolize logic, but to let them serve one another. Let the mind translate what the heart feels. Let the heart soften what the mind decides. This is a language of partnership. Two people thinking and feeling together, guiding each other toward balance. When love matures to this level, misunderstandings no longer threaten it. Each conflict becomes an opportunity to refine communication, to practice patience, and to see the world through the other's eyes. Such love no longer depends on mood or passion alone. It becomes a conscious state of awareness, a meeting place of soul and intellect. The strongest relationships are not those without disagreement, but those where both partners can reason to their storms without losing tenderness. They think together. They feel together. And through that union of mind and heart, they grow into something wiser than either could be alone. Chapter 4. The 3 territories of relationship. Every relationship has an inner landscape, an emotional map where two human beings meet, overlap, and grow. To navigate love wisely, we must learn its geography. The private territory, the common territory, and the territory of love. Each has its purpose. When they are respected, relationships flourish. When confused, they become fields of conflict. The private territory is the sacred inner world of each person. It holds our memories, fears, dreams, and silent beliefs. It is where identity lives, where the roots of the self are planted. No matter how close we become to another, this territory remains our own. It is not selfishness. It is essence. To love someone is to honor what cannot be possessed. Many relationships suffer when one partner tries to invade or reshape the other's private space, demanding complete transparency, expecting full access to every thought. Yet love does not mean ownership. It means respect. The more we protect each other's inner world, the deeper our trust becomes. True intimacy grows only in freedom. Between two private worlds lies a common territory, the ground where daily life unfolds. Here we plan, share, and create. This is where the work of partnership lives. Conversation, cooperation, compromise. It is not always peaceful, but it is always fertile. What we sow here determines the health of the relationship. The common territory is where intellect and emotion must learn to work together. It is the space for honest communication, where we discuss problems, express gratitude, and align our dreams. Without care, this space can become a battleground for ego. With attention, it becomes a workshop of love, a place where two people consciously build their shared life. Beyond both lies the territory of love, the sacred field where two hearts intertwine. It is not constant passion nor endless harmony, but a state of unity that transcends individuality. In this space, we no longer think in terms of mine and yours. A new reality appears, ours. This territory is not entered by force or promise, but by daily acts of sincerity, kindness, and mutual understanding. It is delicate and alive. To remain within it, both partners must give more than they take, listen more than they speak, and remember that love is not a possession but creation. Navigating these territories requires awareness. The private space must remain inviolable. The common space must be cultivated. The shared space must be cherished. Confusion between them leads to resentment. Too much intrusion and freedom dies. Too much distance and love fades. Balance is the key. Love is not about merging into one indistinct being. It is about learning how two complete individuals can live in harmony. Each protects their inner world. Both nurture the shared one, and together they build a third, the territory of love. Boundaries, rather than dividing us, define the shape of our connection. Just as a river needs its banks to flow, love needs structure to thrive. Without boundaries, we drown in emotion. Without openness, we wither in distance. The art of love lies in holding both: closeness with respect, intimacy with freedom. To understand these three territories is to see love as a landscape, not a possession. It teaches us when to step forward and when to stand back, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to protect and when to surrender. Every mature relationship moves through these lands again and again, from solitude to dialogue, from partnership to union. Together, they form the true map of love. Three territories, one journey, and an endless invitation to discover each other anew. Chapter 5. Plan Love, Building a Shared Child. The greatest myth of modern romance is that love should be effortless, that when it is right, it simply sustains itself. Yet everything living requires care. A flower without sunlight wilts, a body without nourishment weakens, and love without attention fades. Real intimacy is not maintained by emotion alone. It is sustained by intention. To love consciously is to understand that the relationship itself is a third being, something that exists between two people, yet belongs to both. It is like a child they create together, a living reflection of their shared energy, their patience, and their growth. This child of love must be nurtured, protected, and renewed each day. The illusion of effortless love leads many relationships to collapse. We wait for passion to do the work of understanding, for affection to solve the problems of ego. But love is not self-sufficient. It must be built continuously, through mutual concession, gentle correction, and constant renewal. Mutual concession does not mean surrender. It is not about losing yourself, but about creating space for the other. When I step back, I make room for my partner's nature to breathe. When they do the same for me, harmony appears. This act of giving space is not weakness. It is strength born of awareness. Love, at its highest level, is an act of deliberate cooperation. Each partner learns to measure their reactions, to rise above impulses, to consider not only what do I feel now, but also what are we building together? This shared mindfulness becomes a quiet foundation of lasting connection. Within each of us operates an internal computer, the mind that observes and adjusts. It constantly measures a balance between giving and receiving, closeness and distance. It reminds us to stay conscious even when emotion wanes. Feelings, like the tides, rise and fall. The intellect ensures the current continues even when the waves are still. This balance between thought and feeling is what keeps love alive during difficult times. When emotion fades temporarily, the mind must sustain the bond through understanding, loyalty, and commitment. Then, when the heart awakens again, as it always does, it finds a connection intact, deepened by endurance. To treat love as a planned creation is not to make it mechanical, but to make it meaningful. Planning does not kill emotion. It gives it direction. A shared project, a goal, or a dream unites two souls beyond the limits of passion. Whether it is raising a child, building a home, or creating a vision together, purpose anchors love to something larger than personal need. Love that endures is love that grows beyond the immediate. It knows how to forgive, to rebuild, to begin again. Each concession, each compromise is not a loss but a contribution, another brick in the foundation of the shared life you are building. Planned love does not mean controlling the relationship. It means consciously guiding it. It requires two people willing to become aware of their own nature and to see in their partner not an opponent, but an ally in evolution. In such awareness, every conflict becomes an opportunity to refine understanding. The maturity of love is not measured by intensity, but by constancy. It is a quiet devotion of two minds that choose each other again and again, even when emotions fluctuate. This is not less romantic. It is more real. It transforms fleeting passion into enduring warmth, momentary desire into lifelong affection. Every day, the child of love asks for care. It needs honesty to breathe, compassion to grow, and patience to mature. Neglect it and it withers. Nurture it, and it becomes the most beautiful creation two people can share, a living bond that strengthens both souls. In the end, planned love is not about control, but about awareness. a conscious act of tending to something sacred. It is love guided by wisdom, warmed by emotion, and sustained by will. And when two people live this way, deliberately, thoughtfully, tenderly, love ceases to be an accident. It becomes a masterpiece, built one understanding, one concession, one shared moment at a time. Chapter 6. Covenant of the Heart, the Territory of Love. There comes a moment in every true relationship when love matures beyond emotion and settles into essence. The passion that once burned becomes steady warmth. The curiosity that once questioned becomes quiet knowing. What remains is something deeper than desire, a covenant of the heart. A covenant is not a contract of convenience or a promise born of circumstance. It is an inner agreement, a silent vow between two souls who have chosen to belong to one another in truth. It does not depend on mood, youth, or time. It is built from mutual understanding, shared memory, and the will to continue growing together. In this covenant, love ceases to be a feeling that comes and goes. It becomes a territory, a shared emotional field that neither can own or take away. Within this space, both partners are rooted like two trees that have grown side by side. Their roots intertwine beneath the surface, unseen yet inseparable. Each still stands alone, but together they hold the soil that sustains them both. This is the territory of love, the highest state of connection. Here, individuality remains intact, but opposition disappears. There is no more fear of loss, because the bond is no longer based on possession. Each partner carries the other within them. Even in silence, even in absence, the heart learns that love is not something we have. It is something we are. Such love is not born in a single moment. It is cultivated through time. It grows from shared experiences, mutual forgiveness, and a daily effort to understand rather than demand. Every memory, every act of care becomes another root anchoring the bond more deeply. What was once fragile becomes enduring. What was once uncertain becomes sacred. This covenant is not maintained by perfection, but by renewal. Two people who have truly loved learn to return to one another again and again, after anger, after distance, after silence. They understand that to rebuild is not to fail. It is to honor the living nature of love. Family, shared history, and a common vision for the future give this covenant form. When partners share not only affection but purpose, the care of children, the creation of home, the pursuit of meaning, their connection deepens beyond emotion. Love expands from the private to the universal, from the individual to the generational. And so, the territory of love becomes a foundation for others. Those who live within it teach by example. Their children learn that love is not constant passion or perfect agreement, but the steady art of understanding, concession, and care. In this way, love becomes a heritage, the most valuable gift one generation can pass to the next. The highest love is not dramatic, yet it is profound. It does not seek to conquer, only to endure. It is a quiet strength that grows richer with time, a harmony that no conflict can erase. Two people who have reached this stage no longer need to prove their love. They live it. In the covenant of the heart, love becomes eternal not because it never changes, but because it continues to renew itself within change. It is the still center of life's motion, the one certainty in a world of passing forms. To enter this territory is to discover the true meaning of unity, not the loss of self, but fulfillment of self through another. Here, two souls do not fuse. They coexist in perfect balance, creating something that neither could have built alone. This is a culmination of conscious love, to live not in dependence, but in devotion, not in possession, but in belonging, not as have seeking completion, but as wholes choosing communion. The covenant of the heart is the ultimate territory of love, the place where two lives, once separate, become one shared existence, forever growing, forever giving, forever new. Conclusion: love is the oldest lesson on earth, and the one humanity has never truly studied. We enter it with hope, we lose it in confusion, and we rediscover it only through pain and patience. Yet, if there is one truth that emerges from all our searching, it is this: love is not a mystery to be solved, but a wisdom to be learned. Throughout this journey, we have seen that love is far more than emotion. It is a discipline, a conscious act of creation. It begins with the courage to understand ourselves, to meet our own nature honestly, to see how ego, fear, and desire shape the way we relate to others. From this awareness, the possibility of real connection begins. We learn that the human heart speaks two languages, mind and emotion, and that love flourishes only when both are heard. The intellect gives direction, the heart gives life. Without balance, even the strongest passion loses its way. To think and feel together is the essence of mature love. We explored the three territories of relationship: the private, the common, and the shared. Each plays a vital role in the harmony of two lives. The private must be respected, the common must be cultivated, and the territory of love, must be cherished. When these boundaries are understood, closeness becomes freedom, not confinement. We saw that love cannot thrive on chance. It must be built deliberately, like a child raised by two parents, with care, patience, and shared intention. It requires daily nourishment, mutual concession, and the awareness that emotion alone is not enough. Love is sustained by thought when feeling fades, and feeling rekindles when thought guides it wisely. Finally, we arrive at the covenant of the heart, the highest form of love, where two souls create a lasting bond beyond time and circumstance. Here, love is no longer an event but a state of being. It becomes a territory that belongs to both and neither, a shared inner world where trust, memory, and devotion take root. Such love cannot be forced or fabricated. It grows quietly from understanding, forgiveness, and the willingness to renew the bond again and again. It is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of awareness within it. This is a love that matures into peace, the love that endures. When two people reach this state, they become not only partners to each other, but teachers to the world around them. Their relationship becomes a living example, a gentle reminder that love, when practiced consciously, can heal not only two hearts but generations to come. The course on love is not confined to words or lessons. It begins and ends with life itself. In every conversation, every moment of patience, every act of care. Each day offers us a chance to study again, to listen again, to love more wisely. Love is not what we find. It is what we build. It is the art of transforming ego into empathy, desire into giving, and separation into unity. When we understand this, every relationship, past, present, or future, becomes part of our education in the most sacred subject of all. We have built cities, explored galaxies, and mapped the human mind. Now, perhaps, it is time to map the human heart, to learn what it means to live, not beside one another, but with one another, consciously and completely. This is a true territory of love, a space without borders, without ownership, without end, the place where two souls, through awareness and care, become one shared life.